We've been watching and bring in MS Now Justice and Intelligence reporter Ken Dilanian, MS Now senior national security reporter David Rode, former CIA officer Mark Polymeropoulos also standing by. David, let me start with you. Help us break down some of the biggest points made so far. We've been dipping in and out, but I know you've been focused this whole time. Any major news made?
The biggest news to me has been what Gabbard has refused to answer. She was asked about whether the president was warned that the Strait of Hormuz could be closed by Iran. Experts have warned of this for decades, and she twice refused to answer the question. So to me, that means the president wasn't warned. He wasn't, told of this, and he should have been. It's a very predictable thing where the president was warned, and she's bluntly protecting President Trump for ignoring that warning, starting a war that's led to this oil price crisis we're watching right now.
Yeah, she basically said we've continued to give the president the most up-to-date intelligence when asked directly, did you assess that Iran could shut down the Strait of Hormuz? It's a yes or no question. We've heard her been asked this question now multiple times, and she's refused to answer that question directly. Ken, of course, the most contentious or most confrontational questioning we've heard was from Senator Mark Warner, who also really pressed her on the Fulton County elections search warrant that she was seen taking part in. That stood out to me. What stood out to you?
Yeah, Mark Warner was trying to understand why the director of national intelligence was present during an FBI raid and whether Donald Trump knew about that situation in advance. He didn't really get a clear answer to that. I'll tell you, though, Anna, I've been covering these threat hearings for more than 15 years, and I am struck, first of all, by the document that they put out. They always put out an unclassified summary of the threats. And this year, they put border security and foreign illicit drug actors as the #1 threat to the United States. We are in the middle of a war with Iran. So there's something that's quite discordant there. Obviously, the intelligence community does not see border security as the top threat, particularly when we're fighting a war against Iran. And when you look through this document, the typical threats that we've been covering for more than a decade that are seen as the largest threats to the United States national security, China, a growing and more aggressive China, the war with Russia and Ukraine, global terrorism are getting scarce mention or buried in the back of this book. So it really raises questions about what exactly the priorities are here and where the intelligence community is focusing on it.
Mark, what's your biggest takeaway, and what are you still hoping to hear?
So, Anna, it's really good when you see one of these worldwide threat hearings, and especially with the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, because these are serious people. They take this job, very seriously. And Susan Collins asking very tough questions. So both sides of the aisle will press the leaders of the IC. For me, and I think it will be clarified quite clearly, and I have an idea of what's going to be said in the closed hearings, because of course the intelligence community, discussed the notion of imminence or not, whether the president was briefed by his national security team on the expected Iranian reaction. For many of us who've worked in the Middle East, followed this, so much of what has occurred was absolutely to be expected. And so Gabbard in the open hearing was certainly covering for the president. In the closed hearing, she's not going to be able to get away with that. Because ultimately the committee can actually ask for the documents, what was briefed. So, she's on the hot seat for a lot of political issues. But I think when it comes to the closed hearings, and something will come out of that as well, we'll hear the results. It's going to be pretty clear that the IC did brief very clearly to the administration on what we're actually seeing right now. And, then you take a look at Donald Trump's statements, and they just don't, of course, make any sense.